It's mid-April in Minnesota. Usually, even this far north, spring has started to make an appearance. Not this year. It snowed last week. We got freezing rain a few days ago, and the grass can barely be seen. It's depressing, and everyone is over it. April is usually the time when I feel most hopeful and ambitious about making my small backyard into a beautiful garden. This is the year! I will plant some flowers, maybe some vegetables and herbs too. Unfortunately, my ambition doesn't last too long. Even before the first trip to the garden store, I'm overwhelmed by possible options and the unique challenges that my yard offers. Nightly visits from raccoons, aggressive and territorial squirrels that often stare me down when I try to stay outside for too long, and a lawn that has big dirt patches, tons of creeping Charlie, and a noxious weed named Japanese knotweed that is virtually impossible to kill. By June, my enthusiasm has waned and I've resigned myself to a backyard that's not bad. It's really private and offers great shade, but that doesn't have a garden, and that's not that inviting. My mom was a great gardener. Her parents were great gardeners. Probably their parents were great gardeners too. Before my mom got really sick, I used to call her up every spring to get her advice about what to plant in my backyard and how to deal with the critters and the weeds. She always had great advice, lecturing me on the relative merits of annuals versus perennials, the best plants for low light, and the various ways to deter critters without poisoning them. She was always incredibly knowledgeable and enthusiastic and patient. She knew, I think, that most of the advice that she gave me would never be taken. You see, I am not a gardener. I think that I lack the temperament. I'm not patient enough. I get overwhelmed by the planning and the sheer amount of details that often go into creating a garden. I can't ever remember the name of common plants. My knowledge ends at hostas. And which plants work best and where. And I lack the basic skills and techniques that are needed for weeding, watering, and making sure plants don't shrivel up or get eaten up. But I have a great appreciation for the gardener, especially the gardener artist, who envisions their garden as a living canvas for creating and displaying beauty. Before my mom went back to school in her 50s and earned an art degree in fiber design, gardening, along with sewing, interior decorating, calligraphy, and cross-stitching, were some of the primary ways she practiced and expressed her art. We always had gardens at the many houses we lived in, from Michigan to North Carolina to Virginia to Iowa. I remember our garden in West Des Moines, Iowa the best, partly because I was older, in high school, and because it was the most elaborate and biggest of her many gardens, but also because it's better documented. In the early 90s, my dad videotaped my mom giving a tour of her Iowa garden for her parents. Out onto the deck and the porch and the flower beds that I've been working for my third summer that I'm establishing perennial beds. I'm establishing roses throughout this garden. I'd like to have an informal perennial bed. And that's what I'm working at. And every year some gets winter killed. As we go along, there are perennial geraniums and sedum and simplicity roses. I've also got sprinklings of annual plants in here. Ladies' mantle, mums, daylilies, all throughout here. Lots of native plants in the Iowa prairie. Lots of yarrow, which blooms just wonderfully all through the summer, and coreopsis, bluebells, cardinal flowers, and then I've got traditional old-fashioned cutting garden plants that are starting to come, including gladiolas, dahlias, nasturtius. I've got mint that I'm continually pulling out, bachelor buttons, zinnias, cosmos. I'm working to plants, and this one, after 3 years, is finally starting to establish nasturtium, and then I'm adding roses and lots of annuals. I had to clear all the dill out of here because this whole place was solid dill, and it's confined now to a little space. And in between I put vegetables like tomatoes. This is another form of coreopsis, which is a wonderful perennial plant. And my broomstick alum is just about ready to come out and bloom. It's a new plant for me. Lemon balm grows like crazy in this part of the country, and I've spots of it all over, and then gigantic alum.
as well as some wonderful status, was just about ready to bloom. I'm trying to attract hummingbirds, so I've got a hummingbird feeder just above bee balm, which hummingbirds like. And interspersed in are lots of herbs, oregano, and dahlias again. And I'm trying to establish a wide variety of plants, including the native coneflower, which is a wonderful native plant of the Iowa prairies. My neighbor has also given me shoots and stacks of all kinds of plants. I like herbs and lavenders, and mums, and peonies, and just a different variety of hollyhocks coming up here, but I have more hollyhocks in another area. I'm just slowly learning from year to year which plants survive in which parts of this garden. I'm not done digging up the grass. There's more to be dug. Growing herbs is a really popular thing in Iowa, and so I'm learning how to grow herbs, and I've got, dozens of different herbs in this garden. And some I didn't realize would grow as tall as others, so we learn as we go, but there's interesting things like borage, and there's my hollyhocks. If you check, you have to have a hollyhock in your yard. And snow peas and varieties of lettuce and spinach, cilantro, parsleys, thyme, marjoram, broccoli, dill, rosemary, thyme. I think I got just, and then my little strawberry bed, and I see that some of these berries are starting to redden. And this year I dug this up, and I'm establishing a rose garden. And there's our all new plants in here, and it's just starting to bud and starting to bloom, from Tropicanas to Jacob's Coat to Barbara Bush roses. And the only shade garden I have is right here. And it looks like the hostas are taking over.
I love watching my mom in this video. She's really happy and confident and passionate about her garden, and her knowledge of the various plants is impressive. I like remembering her this way. Having spent so many years being haunted by images of her in the final months before she died, when she could barely talk or move, I need these moving images of her in her glory. They comfort me, and they inspire me. On this April afternoon, there is still snow on the ground, but the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and spring is coming. Maybe I should start planting a garden. I won't be as ambitious as my mom was. Maybe just a few new plants and herbs that look pretty. Yes, this time it might work.